Well, good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, November 28th, and as you can see in the background, we're getting our first little snow of the fall. So it's that time of year when a lot of people start thinking about feeding the birds for the winter. Many people are already feeding them, and others are just starting to think about it, waiting until true winter starts perhaps, or just at least the colder weather with snow starts before they do feed. Anyhow, whenever you think about feeding the birds, there's a lot to think about feeder selection. And the other day I went down in the workshop. I was feeling a little bit creative, and I decided to build this feeder here beside me that I've been thinking about building for some time. It's basically just a frame of wood with screen in two sides with a top that opens that you can put sunflower seeds in. It's primarily a sunflower seed feeder, therefore I call it the Sunflower Tower for lack of a better name. So I decided to make a little video of the process just in case anyone else wants to try their hand at this. It's that time of year again when we need to start thinking about Christmas gifts, and if you have any bird lovers on your list, I'm sure they always appreciate getting a homemade bird feeder, so this could be an option for that as well. It doesn't take too long to make. It does require a few tools that not everyone has, but a lot of people do have the tools that I suggest, and there are alternative ways to make it sometimes too, if you don't have all those tools. But anyhow, I hope if you're interested, you'll follow along in the video here where I show how to make it. So I've got my cedar deck board, bringing it into the workshop here. And I mark the side dimensions at 18 inches. First side cut. And I use that side to measure out the second side. Just placing it on top of the board, which you know will be the right dimension, and then second side cut. I mark the top and bottom at 6 inches and do the same thing. Here I'm just finding the center of the top board, or the roof, so I can drill the hole into it, a 2-inch hole that will be the place where the seeds are put into the feeder. So here I am drilling with a 2-inch hole saw. Here I'm adjusting the table saw blade to a 1/4 inch of depth and a 1/2 inch wide to make the grooves on the sides of the side boards as well as the bottom board or the floor board. These grooves will be where the screen sets in. So this is roughly how it will go together. The two sides will sit on the bottom. Both the sides and the bottom have the grooves sawed into them to accept the screen. The top board, which we drilled the 2-inch hole in, will sit on the top and be screwed to the sides, pre-drilled, so to avoid cracking. Then we'll cut the screen up to fit in here. And then basically, once all that's put together, it's mostly done. This little plug that we cut out of here, we will add another little chunk of board to it so it doesn't fall down into the hole to hold it up. Then I think I'll use a piece of clothesline to go through the hole in the plug, right down through the hole in the bottom, which I haven't drilled yet. And that'll just go through the middle of the unit, but won't interfere with anything. And then it'll be ready for the seeds. So I need to cut the screen now to fit in these slots. And I knew before that I made this to accept a 4.5 inch wide screen. And this is 18 inches long, plus 1/4 inch in the groove. So 18 1/4 by 4.5 inches is the size of the screen I need. Just trimming the rough edge off the screen so I'm left with a nice single wire here instead of all these frayed wires that were from previous cuts. Okay, I've got both pieces of screen cut to size. Now I'm just trimming this one of the excess little barbs hanging out on the one side. Has to be smoothed right down or it won't go into the grooves on the feeder. There we go. So here's the feeder with the screen inserted. Now I just have to get this top finalized. So that will screw on there like that. And now I'm just making the little plug unit. So I'm going to screw this block of wood to the plug. And that'll give something that prevents the plug from falling right in and also provides a handle. Decided just to use 2-inch galvanized Ardox nails to attach this little plug to the board. The screws were being a bit hard to deal with. So here's the little cap I made. I just sanded it off a little bit on the sides to smooth it down. So that just sits in there like that. Now I have to drill a hole through the top here to match the hole here through the plug. And then a hole through the bottom of the floor here. And that'll just allow the clothesline hanger to come up through the whole unit. So what I do on the bottom is just fold the clothesline wire over itself, and then I'll clamp it tight with one of these little clothesline clamp units. Like yay. So there we go, everyone. The cedar sunflower feeder is complete. This is all made out of cedar deck board. The nice thing about using the deck board is it's rounded on each side to begin with, so it looks almost finished when you complete it. Hopefully it would look finished anyhow, but I didn't spend a lot of time on this. I just basically cut out the pieces, put them together, sanded off a few things here and there, the cap and the corners of the top a little bit, that's about it. And I should have left myself a little more room here with the clothesline, There's still plenty of room to get the seed in, but I could have made this a little longer, and then this would have hung out over here out of the way a bit better. But anyhow, it won't be too hard to fill that up with sunflower seeds. This will work for sunflower seeds in the shell as well as those out of the shell. Some of the ones out of the shell may fall out of this initially. A few of them will fall out, but the large majority of them will stay in. Now this is quite a large feeder. I could have shortened it up. So here we are. I thought I'd try hanging it on the pergola here for a little while. It'll take a little while for the birds to find it, but typically the chickadees will find it first, then probably blue jays and nuthatches and woodpeckers. Now obviously you can buy many commercially made feeders. I've got several other tube feeders here that have screen in them, a different kind of screen, and they work fine. There's nothing wrong with them, and they're relatively inexpensive. But if you feel like doing something yourself, there's a bit of satisfaction and pride that comes out of making something yourself. This one, as I mentioned earlier, this will hold a lot of seeds. So you could make a smaller version, you could make a narrower version that has a smaller compartment inside if you don't want to be filling that many seeds, although it does last fairly long. Now some of the other feeders are cylindrical, and so the birds can come in at all angles, whereas this one, they have to be on one of the two sides that has the screen, obviously, but we'll see how it goes. I think it'll do fine out here.